On 7 Days Rebellion and Song, Around the Town or Éireann go Bragh. This song, of course, was written by Peadar Kearney, who wrote some of our finest ballads commemorating the events and the men and women of the Easter Rebellion of 1916. He was a great balladeer. He was a wonderful poet, and he did justice to the courage and bravery of the men and women of the Easter Rebellion in song and in story. He wrote many songs. All Around Me Hat, I wore a tricoloured ribbon. This Éireann go Bragh, of course, the Soldier's Song, and he wrote so many ballads that I think are recorded, most of them. Sergeant William Bailey, he could satirise things very easily. God Bless England. I could. He wrote so many ballads that he probably spent a lot of his time, like I did over the years, writing songs about events that passed him by. And I've always been proud to sing his songs because they looked upon the issues in a very, very honest way, and in all the true balladeer sense of justice. His words were never directed at the people of England, always at English authority, and always indeed at English authority as exercised here in Ireland. So Peadar Kearney was a balladeer, a poet, a writer, a volunteer, and I'm proud to have recorded so many of his ballads, including, of course, the one that he wrote with Michael Heaney. Peadar didn't always write the music to the songs, but he always wrote the words. And Michael Heaney collaborated with him before he died. Michael died, I think, in 1909, and he wrote the Soldier's Song with Peadar. They collaborated in writing that song, never to know that it would go on to become the national anthem of the country, because it's important to remember that when the Peadar and Michael Heaney wrote the Soldier's Song, the volunteer movement and the Sinn Féin movement was in its infancy, and they could have never foreseen that it would become the anthem of Ireland. In fact, Michael Heaney never lived to see that, and of course Peadar Kearney also would have had, it wasn't really adapted as the national anthem until 1926, and then it was written and the Irish words, Gaelic words are written to it, because when the volunteers sung the song in the GPO and listened to the testimony of Brian O'Higgins, who was also a volunteer and wrote extensively and some beautiful poetry about the period. He said they were singing that song on the way to the Gresham after the surrender. So it was a marching song to give the volunteers and keep their spirits up after the surrender in 1916. And the surrender was a big blow to many of those men who didn't want to surrender. You have to remember that. And the only reason that Padraig Pearse decided to surrender was that the English authorities didn't have any care for the amount of people that they were killing. So they were prepared to bomb the whole of Dublin just to get the insurgents out of the GPO. In contrast to that, of course, Padraig Pearse would not allow the carnage of people that English authority allowed when it came into conflict in the battle. The lives of people that were involved didn't matter. It was victory that mattered. And of course, there's no telling what the English military authority would have done had Padraig Pearse not called a surrender. So I think this song is very important. We made a statement. Padraig Pearse made a statement, and I think it's one of Peadar's greatest ballads. And the first time I heard it recorded actually was by the band in Scotland, the Imitones, and I know that Dominic Bean recorded it also during the 40s or 50s. So, but here's the recording that we made, and enjoy its sentiments, and its courage and the self-respect that it gave to the courage and bravery and commitment of the men and women of the Easter Rebellion of 1960. And thank you for listening.